It's Measter Pool here. I was going to tell you about my experience I had working at a toy store, Toys and Hobbies. This particular toy store, they had puzzles, books, bicycles, strollers, board games, models, video games, arcade games. They had stuffed animals. They had um, pool toys and squirt guns and fake like rifles and guns and different and they had like Star Wars figures and action figures, GI Joes, and just was the whole store was just full of all the different kinds of toys and hobbies that you could imagine at that time back in 1982. And this was in Southern California, and I was going to a trade school at the time, so I was working part-time there at Wednesdays, at nights, evenings, Friday nights, and all day Saturday. The aisle that I was assigned to by management when I worked there was the preschool aisle. And right next to the preschool aisle was the baby formula and the baby diapers and little infant toys and that sort of thing. And then on my wall was crib toys and little like Legos and Wegos and Fisher Price toys. Little, the Fisher Price, the thing that hangs on the side of the crib, and then there are little toys that for kids to play with when they're in their play area. And I remember sometimes on Saturdays I'd be up and down that freight elevator getting the diapers, just restocking that diaper aisle, just like the diapers would just like sell like diapers, diapers, diapers like that all day long. So we had to be continuously stocking the diaper aisle. And the Similac too, the baby formula. So it was like that was their big business there at the time. So it was like they probably made more money in that in one part of the store. It was all the way in the back of the store too, so it was near the warehouse area. And they had an upstairs. They had a loft area with all the toys up in the loft area, and then they had they had assembled bicycles, and then they had a receiving dock there at the back. Yeah, I worked there and wore a little, uniform, and they liked me there. I was good with the customers. If a customer was looking for something and they wanted to know where it was or how much it was, I would find it for them and tell them about it. Tell them, yeah, it's a popular one. A lot of other people are buying that one too, or whatever. I'd say, just to, and I'd say, well, a lot of, and they're confused. They're going to a party or something. They're buying a little baby something, and they don't know what to get them. So they would ask me, and I'd recommend, oh, get the baby mobile for the crib. The little kids like to look up at the little butterflies and see them floating there. It's good for and there's a little toys that go on the hang on the side of the crib, and there's rattles and things like that. All these different kinds of things for little kids, on the aisle that I worked on. But most of it was for infants and toddlers. And then I would work at the check register also. So on Saturdays I would work at the checker as a checker. And they didn't have the computer. It was different then. They had a PIN number on each item that they sold. So whatever item you bought, you went up to the register to pay for it. You would type in the key, the combination of numbers on the keypad on the cash register. Now that would record that item that was sold. And then we would do, charge cards too, MasterCard, Visa. We had a little, where you put the plastic down and it gives carbon paper. So we did that there. And I worked there, and then after when it was closing time, they would have me stand next to the payphone outside. So I'd be hanging around there by the payphone when they closed. That way, if there was a burglary, or someone's robbing the store, I could go and call the police right away. So it was an interesting experience there. There was a lot of young girls that worked there too. It was kind of a change of a different kind of job for me. It seems like all the jobs I get, I've worked with guys. So, well, I gotta get going. But anyhow, I give you a little bit of something about my life at Toys R Us. And there was one gal there that this was a mistake I made. I altered some ID for her, so she had an old driver's license. She wanted to get into the nightclubs there in Hollywood. So I actually cut and pasted a part of the license out on that with an X-Acto knife. So yeah, I probably shouldn't say that if somebody's out there that's. It was back in 1983, so I mean, it's probably didn't work because it probably fell out. I didn't glue it in right, or was it? It's like, yeah, there was some girls there that were. I ended up dating a gal, and we were in the choir together at the junior college. The junior college had a choral group. They had a choral class, where you sang your part. You were alto, tenor, or baritone. And then the women had alto, tenor, and baritone sections. So each person was either, and they sang and we harmonized with each other in singing. So it was kind of fun. Did that, dated her for a while there, and applied for a job at an oil refinery. And it was kind of interesting because what I did is I went and I got a SAT study guide, college entrance exam study guide, and I just went over the questions, and looked at the answers and tried to figure out how the tests were structured to make it so you get a good grade. So went in for the pre-employment exam, and I passed that. So they were really. So then the next step was a drug test, and so the guy was in the bathroom. I was supposed to urinate in a cup, and I was really nervous in front of this person because I had to urinate. I didn't really have to go pee that bad, so I was drinking water, and he was standing around waiting for me. I was holding the cup, and I was kind of nervous. I didn't really feel relaxed enough to start urinating there in front of this guy looking at me while I was urinating. So that kind of made me feel a little bit awkward at that time in my life. Then I went to the interview, and I showed my drawings that I did at the technical school I went to. I showed them all the blueprints I used and the drawings that I made and all the different airbrushing and my assignments that I was assigned to in school. So. And there was there was a hiring manager there. There was the vice president was there, and then there was the human resources was there. So I had 3 people that were interviewing me there at the time. So I was a little bit nervous. And the pay was the pay was really good. I would have been making like $11.50 an hour. This is back in 1983 or 82, 83, but I didn't get the job. I said, well, I don't know. And then they were like, well, how comfortable are you wearing a suit to put out a fire, or wearing like a protective clothing, and they wanted you to know like about if you're gonna what to do if there was gonna be a fire. Just very. They were very conscientious of safety there first. It was like, yeah, and I felt a little bit. Wow, there's gas leaks at these places, and it's like this is earthquakes happen around here. So I was like getting a little bit nervous about the job. They were telling me about what I was going to do, and I just in the interview I says, you know what, I don't think I'm the right person for this job, and so I said, bye, thank you for your time. So anyhow, that's how that went. And after that, I got a job at the working as a tech artist. On a night shift crew there in Manhattan Beach. So I worked, graveyard shift there, and then they would get all the artwork would have to get done by the morning. So when we finished, then they would just write us a check, and we would get a check for that time that we worked. And it was not through an agency; it was a direct hire. So it was back in those days when you could actually go in somewhere and they could hire you. You didn't have to go through an employment agency. So anyhow, that's how that goes. So signing off.